Some voices carry a beauty that tragedy can't silence. In this episode, we look into the final hours of a talent who burned fast, bright, and far too briefly. The Amy Winehouse case opens. This is Memento Mori.
Won't you spare me over another?
Amy Winehouse was she was a force of nature, an absolutely iconic English singer-songwriter. She completely reshaped modern jazz and soul in the early 2000s. Her impact, it was just immediate and huge. You just have to look at the album Back to Black.
Oh, it was everywhere.
Everywhere. It went on to win 5 Grammy Awards and made her one of the best-selling British artists in history.
And the power of her music, I think, came from its honesty. She just poured all this personal pain, this raw emotion into these incredible sort of vintage-sounding tracks and made her so relatable, so magnetic. But that genius was also tangled up with these immense, very public personal struggles. Her fame basically became this stage for her battles with chronic depression, eating disorders, and a really devastating addiction to drugs and alcohol.
And all of it, every single slip-up was just magnified by this ruthless media glare.
Exactly. Then, on July 23, she died, just 27 years old. The newest member of that horrible, infamous 27 Club. Okay, let's unpack this.
To really get it, you have to understand that Amy was fighting this war against her health, and the whole world was watching. The media called them her personal demons, and her battles led to these very public stints in and out of rehab.
And that's where the fame part becomes so toxic, right? Her entire health crisis, the relapses, the recovery attempts, it was all treated like a continuous circus show by the tabloids.
A circus show is the perfect way to put it. It wasn't just them reporting on it. It felt like they were actively participating in her decline.
Yeah.
There was no privacy, no chance to just quietly fight for her sobriety. That pressure, it multiplies the fragility of the whole situation. She was becoming this symbol, for talent and for self-destruction all at the same time.
And we see that cycle play out right before she died. She's trying to get her career back on track, planning this huge European tour for the summer of 2011.
Right, a big relaunch.
But that relaunch just ended in this spectacular public failure.
It's just heartbreaking to look back on. In June 2011, she had a performance in Belgrade, Serbia.
I remember the clips. It was bad.
It was a disaster. She was clearly intoxicated, couldn't remember the lyrics, sort of stumbling around the stage. The audience actually booed her off.
Wow.
And that moment, so public, so embarrassing, forced the cancellation of the entire tour.
Yeah.
For someone trying so hard to start over, that was just a devastating blow.
A huge psychological blow, for sure.
Yeah.
But what was the medical reality at that point? Was she still using drugs when all this was happening?
See, and that's a really crucial detail. In the months leading up to that summer, she'd actually had a major victory.
Okay.
She had successfully stopped using illegal drugs completely, but her dependency on alcohol, that had tragically stuck around. It had become the main threat.
So the drugs were gone, but the alcohol remained.
Exactly. And given her history, the sources are clear on this. She was supposedly under constant medical supervision right up to the end.
Which makes what happened next so much harder to understand. If she's under constant supervision, how do her final hours even happen?
It's the central paradox of the case, isn't it? The reports show that leading up to that final weekend, she'd been trying a period of abstinence from alcohol. So her system was, relatively clean.
Okay, so she was detoxing.
She was trying to. But then in the days just before her death, she had a massive relapse.
So her body's defenses were down because she'd been clean, and then she relapsed. All right, let's go to the actual discovery.
We're now on Friday, July 22, 2011. Witnesses confirmed she was home alone that night in her house in Camden. And at some point, she started drinking. A lot. The discovery itself was the next morning, Saturday the 23rd.
What's fascinating here is just the sheer scale of that relapse based on what they found.
It's chilling. Around 10 a.m., her security guard, a man named Andrew Morris, went to check on her. He found her in bed, unresponsive, lying face down.
And the evidence was right there.
Right there. The report said there were 2 large empty vodka bottles on the floor next to her bed.
Wow.
At first, he actually thought she was just sleeping it off. But when he checked again a bit later, he realized she wasn't breathing. He called for an ambulance immediately.
But it was too late.
Far too late. Emergency services arrived, but she was officially pronounced dead at 4:00 p.m. local time.
So given her age, her history, the alcohol, the authorities had to launch a formal inquest, right? A full judicial investigation to figure out exactly what happened.
Oh, absolutely. It was automatic. And that inquest with the full autopsy and toxicology reports came back in November 2011, and it provided this chilling clarity. First, to confirm what we just talked about.
Oh, drugs.
Exactly. Zero traces of illegal drugs in her system. So the focus went entirely to the alcohol.
And this is where that one devastating number comes out. The detail that just shocked everyone.
It's an almost unbelievable figure. Her blood alcohol concentration, her BAC, was 416 milligrams per deciliter. 416.
That number, I mean, it sounds impossibly high. Can you give us some perspective? For anyone listening, how high is 416?
Yeah. It's a lethal dose. To put it in context, the legal limit for driving in the UK is 80 milligrams per deciliter. So she was over 5 times that limit.
5 times?
And medical experts will tell you that anything over, say, 350, maybe 400, is considered potentially fatal. It's enough to shut down your respiratory system. It was a killing dose.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The coroner, Shirley Radcliffe, her official ruling wasn't just death by alcohol. It was accident due to alcohol poisoning. Why that specific word, accident?
Well, that's the tragic mechanism of it all. Because, as we said, she'd been trying to stay sober.
Right, her tolerance was down.
Her tolerance had plummeted. Think of it like her body's defenses had been reset.
Yeah.
So when she relapsed and drank that huge amount of vodka, her system was overwhelmed. It couldn't handle it.
So an amount that she might have survived, say, a year earlier?
An amount she might have survived 6 months earlier during a period of heavy drinking suddenly became fatal because her body was no longer conditioned for it. The shock was too great. The respiratory system just stops.
It's an awful irony of recovery. The act of getting clean made the relapse even more deadly.
Precisely. The coroner concluded she didn't intend to take her own life. She just accidentally consumed a fatal amount because her body wasn't ready.
Okay, so that seems pretty clear-cut, medically speaking, and yet the case stayed controversial. It even led to something really unusual, a second inquest in 2013. Why? Why reopen a case with such a clear medical finding?
It had nothing to do with the medical evidence and everything to do with a legal technicality. A pretty shocking one, actually.
Oh.
The original assistant coroner, Suzanne Greenaway, who delivered that verdict. It turned out she didn't have the required 5 years of legal experience needed for that role in the UK.
Wait, what? You're telling me the person who handled the official inquiry into the death of one of the most famous people on the planet wasn't legally qualified to do so?
That's exactly what happened. It was an unbelievable systemic failure. And because of that flaw, her finding was technically voidable. It cast this legal shadow over the entire case.
I can't even imagine what the family must have thought.
Well, they wanted absolute closure, so they requested the second inquest. It happened in January 2013. It wasn't about new evidence. It was about fixing the legal mistake.
So they just re-examined everything?
Yep. They heard the same evidence, looked at the same toxicology reports, and unsurprisingly, came to the exact same conclusion. Accidental death due to alcohol poisoning. It just made it legally airtight.
But closing the legal file didn't stop the public conversation. That just shifted, didn't it? It moved away from the how and more toward the why and questions of negligence.
Absolutely. The criticism wasn't about some conspiracy. It was about what looked like heavy negligence from the people who were supposed to be caring for her.
Right. It just raises these huge questions.
Huge, important questions that still hang over the case. I mean, think about it. How is a world-famous person with a known history of severe addiction who is supposedly under constant care, how is she left alone long enough to do this?
And maybe the bigger question, how did she even get her hands on 2 large bottles of vodka? And what should have been a secure environment?
It points to a total breakdown in the safety net that was meant to protect her. Whether she deliberately worked around it or whether the care was just inadequate, the system failed her at her most vulnerable moment.
Yeah.
It just shows you how hard it is to manage severe addiction, especially with someone famous and wealthy. They have the resources to get what they want, and the fame that ensures every snobble is a global headline.
And that tragedy, of course, cemented her place as the most recent, most poignant member of the 27 Club, putting her right alongside Hendrix, Joplin, Morrison, Kurt Cobain.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, her legacy is really twofold. You have the music, which is timeless. That raw, honest artistry is never going away.
Sure.
But something else, something really constructive came from this. Her family started the Amy Winehouse Foundation not long after she died.
And that foundation works with young people, right, on addiction issues?
Exactly. It's focused on providing support, education, and awareness for young people struggling with drugs and alcohol. It's trying to build the kind of safety net that Amy herself tragically fell through.
turning that private pain into a public good.
That's the goal.
So what does this all mean? Amy Winehouse's death. It was officially an accident, the result of one tragic relapse on one lonely night. But it's also this stark, painful example of genius just being consumed by addiction. It highlights the destructive reality of these battles when they're fought under the crushing weight of global fame.
And under a system of care that, for her, proved to be completely disastrously inadequate. It really forces you to ask a tough question. Think about the pressure we put on public figures struggling with addiction versus the protection we actually provide them.
Yeah.
If the level of supervision and care that Amy Winehouse had with all her resources wasn't enough to prevent this, what does that say about the systems in place for everyone else? For the millions of people fighting the same battle without the fame or the money, that question of negligence, whether it's personal or systemic, that's the one that really lingers.
Thank you for listening. To ensure you don't miss the next file in the Memento Mori collection, please like this video and subscribe. Until we meet again in the next dark story.